Let me have your £50,000 car because my daughter works harder than you. Before we start, here's some proof that I do actually own a Porsche and that this isn't just a repeat of r/that happened. And here is that proof. That's a lovely car, I must say. Firstly, a little bit of background. I'm 29 and I'm an architect in the UK. It's good money and I've been in the job for 4 years. It's hard work though, and I do overtime most days. It's a rewarding profession though, and it's what I love doing. All in all, life's good. Recently, I decided to treat myself to a Porsche 718 Cayman, as we saw in the photo. It's one of my favourite car brands and I've always liked cars, so it's understandably one of my most prized possessions. So I'm pretty protective of it. One week, we had extended family come over to town, not disclosing the name. It consists of my aunt and her children, whom I rarely ever see. Notwithstanding the fact that I rarely see them, I know that the aunt and her daughter are, well, difficult chapettes. My aunt's 48 right now. She was born 14 years after my mum, when my grandparents decided upon having another child. Her children are 10 and 8. The 8-year-old's a boy and we get on really well. He's interested in architecture, so I often tell him about my work when I do get to see him, which is rare. The 10-year-old daughter, conversely, is an entitled brat who's caused me and my mum nothing but trouble whenever we've seen her. I once caught her in my study, just about to draw all over some of my plans. However, I pulled her away just in time, thank frick. I of course got screamed at for, but I just had to bite the bullet. Anyway, when they did come over, I was pretty much forced to host the whole thing at my house. It's not exactly a sizable place, but it's cozy and big enough for a few people. Everything was going well until I had to go into work for a brief meeting that I couldn't avoid. It was a pretty crucial meeting too. It was about a project that was nearing completion, and the whole practice was under great pressure. This exchange begins when I head out of the front door. I unlock my car, but then remember that I left my briefcase in the kitchen, so I head back into the house to grab it quickly, leaving the car unlocked, as it's a nice neighbourhood and I wouldn't be gone long. As soon as I reach the hallway, I hear giggling. This is how the following moments went down. EK entitled kid, EM entitled mother, and me. Hey there EK, look, I'm sorry to interrupt your fun, but you're not supposed to be in the driver's seat right now. I've got a meeting to attend. No, I'm not leaving. You have to, I need to go to work. At this point, I'm struggling to cope, but I manage to put on a stoic facade and exude some authority. Then EM says, oh come on, let her play in the car. I don't think you get that I have a meeting. But she's a good kid. Your meeting's not that important, right? Yes, it is. You know my work field and that I can't afford to waste time. But it's not. How is doodling so... doodling? How is doodling so important? I mean, when architecture is labelled as doodling, you know this mother has issues. Because it earns me 50 grand a year, and it's more than just doodling. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting to attend. EK overhears the exchange and now starts playing with the horn, beeping it constantly. I start to reach into the car to take her hands away from the wheel, as she's causing a real disturbance and being rather rough with my car. It was at this moment that entitled mother became stage 2 Karen. Get off my daughter! This is my car and she is causing a disturbance. I'm within my rights to take her hands away from the wheel. No, she can play in your car all she wants. She deserves your car. She works harder than you. She doesn't just scribble and call it a job. Let me play! EK then begins to start kicking and screaming in the car. Mind you, she went to the park earlier, so mud's getting all over the expensive interior. My blood is also boiling because architecture is more than just scribbling. Some of the designs are so intricate you need a whole room to fit the page. For what it's worth, I've done some work experience at an architect's firm and it's very in depth the stuff they do. I would be awful at it. It was at this point that I snapped. Alright, get out of my effing car this instant or I swear to God I'll make sure neither of you ever drive a car ever. I was about to continue screaming, but then I thought better of it and just stood there, breathing heavily, as I watched my dream car get overrun by this EM and her spawn. EM now decides to get into my Porsche also, taking over the driver's seat. The EK moves to the passenger seat. EM, this car will be ours now, good day. I think we're more deserving of this car than you. It was at this moment that my neighbour, a policeman, came out to check what was going on. It is worth noting that I've known this guy since I was a kid, and he is a legend. He knows that I'm usually a calm person, and it takes a good bit for me to snap. He also knew that I tended to get very distressed in certain situations. I suffer from Asperger's syndrome. Social situations like this are very hard for me to cope with. I find it difficult enough sometimes to socialise with people when we're both rational, let alone when someone's about to take my goddamn Porsche. So the policeman says, "What's the commotion about? I heard beeping and screaming." EM says, "This man man is trying to steal our car. Yeah! It happens that PN actually accompanied me to the sale of the Porsche because I was quite nervous on the day. Understandable due to the fact that the car cost me £50,000 and due to the fact that I was quite anxious about the deal as a whole due to the aforementioned reason. We look at each other and he grins at me. I'm awful at reading facial expressions, but I've known this guy long enough to know that this grin is his "I've got an awesome plan" face. Okay, if it's your car, what's the number plate? PN knows that I have my number plate memorized. Additionally, PN also knows that this is one of the first times EN has seen this car, so she couldn't have memorized a license plate. EM at this point grabs her kid and tries to run off. However, when she ambles out of my Porsche, PN stops her. "I'm going to have to question you and potentially charge you for attempted theft, as you and your child occupied this man's car without permission. Come with me." The EM was then taken off to the police station and EK went back in the house and threw a tantrum in there. Fortunately, there wasn't too much mud in the Porsche as it was a dry day, so the dirt wasn't anything a leather wipe couldn't fix. If it was wet mud, then that would have been a totally different story. EM ended up being charged with attempted theft and was fined £1,000 alongside being given 50 hours of community service. I haven't seen EM or EK since, but I have seen the other kid of hers since. He was in the care of a family friend for 2 weeks while EM went to Vegas. I don't know where the EK went, and I'm glad to say that he isn't at all adopting EM's ways. Well, that is good news. I ended up getting to the meeting on time with a few minutes to spare and getting a raise due to my contribution to the project. My practice also paid for my car's maintenance as the leather was a bit scuffed up, even though they totally didn't have to. Me and my boss get on really well, which is amazing. So I've got to say a big thank you to Polmarch5527 for this story, which was posted in my subreddit Redditor YT, as you can see on screen. If you guys want to be featured in upcoming videos, post your stories there and I'll read them out as soon as I can. EM accuses me of stealing in a store which does not even sell the stolen item. So this happened yesterday. I'm on vacation in Dresden with my grandma. We often go out together to go shopping, but now and then I go alone if I want to get something. The cast: me of course, EM entitled mother, EK entitled kid, and C cashier at the grocery store. So I went out because I wanted to buy another Overwatch pop figure in GameStop. I'd seen the figure the day before but was with grandma. The GameStop is in a large shopping centre with many different stores. Important to know is that the GameStop is the only store there that sells pop figures. I went in, took the figure off the shelf and headed to the cash register. There was no employee, so I waited. In comes the EM and her EK. The EK runs over to the massive shelf filled with pop figures and starts looking through them. Meanwhile, I pay for my figure and start heading out. The EK runs over and points at me. "Mom, she has my figure! That's the one I wanted!" EM comes over to me and holds out her hand. "Give us the figure." "No, I just paid for it. Also, this was the last one and I came first." The figure I bought was the normal size Symmetra pop figure from the Overwatch collection. I'd asked the employees if they had any other, but they said the figures on the shelves were all they had. EM tries to reach for the figure. "Just give it to us, you don't need it anyways. Also, my son deserves it. He's been so good lately and deserves a gift." "I don't care, lady. I paid for the figure with my own money. Now leave me alone." I walked past her and left the store. I heard the EK whining about wanting the figure, but I couldn't care less. I went to Aldi, which is a grocery store, to get something to drink. I had put the figure in my bag, which was partially open. I got a bottle of water and went to pay. Out of nowhere, EM runs up to the cash register. "Stop her! She's trying to steal my son's toy! I wanted to get him that toy!" She tries to grab the figure out of my bag again. "What is your problem, lady?" I push her away and take out the figure. "But we don't even sell these figures here." "I saw her take it. I wanted to buy it for my son and she stole it. She wasn't gonna pay for it." I take out my ticket that show I paid. Also, I will gladly go back to the GameStop and show you more proof I paid for it. I have a store card in my name. Please leave the store now before I will call security. EM and EK leave and I didn't see them for the rest of the day. I paid for my drink and went on shopping. I somewhat wish the cashier would have checked my ticket. I'm not from Germany and I have a Belgian credit card, so on the ticket the machine does print the text in Dutch. I would have loved to see the EM trying to talk her way out of that. See, I reckon what this OP should have done is offered to sell it to her for just an insanely high price, because this sort of person would probably have bought it. But then again, I guess she could have also been a choosing beggar and would have asked for it for free, so maybe that wasn't the best idea. EP inconvenienced by my cancer diagnosis. I'm currently a nanny for a family I've been with for about 6 months. They always pay me on time and I adore the little boy I'm taking care of, so we've never really had any problems until now. I recently found out that I have ovarian cancer and need to have one of my ovaries removed. My conversation telling EP about my surgery went something like this. EP, did I not tell you about our family reunion? You did, but unfortunately I won't be able to come and help because I'll have just had surgery. You'll need to reschedule then. I'm not going to do that. We've had this plan for months. You need to be there to help. I'm sorry, but I won't be able to be there. Are you kidding? No. I'm not sure how much I trust even my child with you if you don't care enough to be there for our family when we need you. I care about him a lot, and I hope I've shown that over the last few months working for you. EP huffed and stomped off. I'll update when they're talking to me again. Wow. So this EP is saying that instead of having potentially life-saving surgery, this person should come and work for them instead. Makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that is the end of another episode of r/Entitled Parents. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, like, share and subscribe for more Reddit content from me.